All right. Welcome back, everybody, to the Best Self Blueprint. So, if you've listened before, you already know. If you don't, you will find out right now. The mission of this podcast is to bring on people who I believe have the knowledge, insights, and experience as to what it takes to live your dreams, pursue your passions, and really move that dial towards becoming the best version of yourself. So the guest today, get ready because the guest that we have on tap is someone who has more crazy stories than we'll even have time for. His athletic journey and life journey will inspire you as he's a true example of constantly pushing the limits of what one is capable of. Bringing his passion for athletics with him from childhood to adulthood, he now competes as an elite OCR athlete for Team Legendary of Legendary Fitness in Menominee Falls, Wisconsin. On top of that, he directs his passion for helping others at coaching individuals as well as groups in OCR, obstacle course racing for those who don't know, Ninja Warrior, running, and functional fitness. This pole vaulter turned stuntman turned first ever legendary status ninja could be none other than Tony Medaglia. How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Just got done with the run. I'm recovering and just kind of going with the day for now.
All right, I like it. That's a good way to kick off the day, if you ask me. So, speaking of kicking it off, the first question I want to ask you, just so people can get a background of your history and what brought you to what you're doing now, tell us a little bit about your lifestyle change because you went from that, again, just rebellious nature, going for the thrill, going for the excitement, maybe not in the most
Not necessarily the
appreciated
safest
way.
or the best ways.
But how did you, because you still have that, rebellious energy and you want that thrill. How did you harness that and channel it into athletics?
Yeah. So the stuntman portion of my life really kind of drove the I want to get like that adrenaline rush through everything I do, whether that was motorcycles, parkour, things like that, and those type of avenues revolved around hanging out with certain groups of people. So it was fun while it lasted, but once I got to the point of, okay, this is just fun, when do I want to, buy a house, have a wife, start a family, those didn't really align in the same direction. So taking that adrenaline rush and that kind of focus really steered towards back to my gymnastics days, the parkour days, and once legendary kind of was my big turnaround point of, okay, I can still get that adrenaline rush, I can still have fun, but I'm not endangering my life completely by doing the things I was doing, but it's also a more positive feeling hanging out with people that are in tune with their health and not just partying on the weekends or doing things they probably shouldn't be doing.
Yeah, so talk about that a little more. I love the idea of connecting yourself with people who not only are at a similar point to you in life, but also have similar goals and ambitions.
Mhm.
So, talk to me about the relationships you have now and kind of what that is like in terms of how you communicate, how you interact, also how you hold each other accountable, all that.
Yeah. So the biggest thing that I've always kind of incorporated with my life, especially after that turnaround portion, was I'd rather have good quality people around me that are smaller in numbers versus having all the friends out there in the world. Um, when it came to I want to become the best version of me, a lot of times in my own world it was I'm the only one that can hold myself accountable. But when in reality, if you want big goals, you're going to need help. And that's kind of where having other people really pushed me to become the best person I am, whether that's an athlete or just trying new things, getting outside of my comfort zone and being comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Yeah, so that is a perfect segue to one of the ideologies you talk to me about that you have is setting goals that right now are outside of what you believe you can do and what you believe is possible. Talk about that because that's really interesting.
Yeah, so the first time I kind of really adapted to that was in high school. During pole vaulting, I walking into high school, I had the opportunity of doing hurdles or doing pole vaulting. Now, my best friend and neighbor was a pole vaulter. He was a really goofy guy. We had a small pole vault team at our school, and it was just do it for fun kind of thing. And then towards the end of my freshman year, I got good at it to the point where they put me on varsity by the end of my freshman year. And the coaches would kind of seek outside help to pushed me to get better and better because they saw the potential in me. So by the time my senior year came around, I had an opportunity to break our school record of 14 feet. And I didn't just want to break it, I wanted to make sure that nobody else broke it. So my best height my junior year in high school was 13 feet 3 inches. So I knew I was close, but I wasn't quite there. And instead of just setting a goal of 14 feet, I set a goal of 15 feet, just because why not? So I was always pushing for 15 feet. So as soon as I got 14, I got the school record, which is part of what I wanted to do, but it still wasn't good enough for where I wanted to go. And I ended up jumping 14.6. So I still fell short of my overall goal, but I beat the school record by half a foot, which was set in like 1969.
Yeah, it's such a cliche saying, but I absolutely love it, where I'd rather aim high and miss than aim low and hit. And I think a lot of people agree with that in saying, but in practice, unfortunately, that aim low and hit is where a lot of the security in life lies. And so if you can get secure and comfortable, that's that's aiming pretty low and hitting, as opposed to aiming for those ambitious goals and things that again you think are outside of the realm of possibility.
Mhm.
So talk about how you apply that to other areas of life as well, because anyone who knows you knows that you definitely apply that to fitness, more particularly OCR or obstacle course racing. But how have you applied that mentality to other areas of life?
So perfect example of that would be me trying to rebuild my credit because back when I was, just having fun doing whatever, just throw everything on a credit card. It's no big deal. Worry about it later. And my credit plummeted to the point where I didn't even think it was important anymore because it was so bad. Um, Applying that, I knew I wanted to have a house someday, and so I started doing research on, what should your credit score be at, and instead of looking at the low number I had, which was like 470 some, to get to the point of you need a minimum of 620 to be able to even get an FHA loan for a house. It's a big jump, especially something that takes time to do. But instead of looking at it as low number to high number, um, giving yourself those little wins in between. So it was I need to get to 500. Okay, once you get to 500, let's go 525 and then 550. And the eventual goal will happen, but celebrating those little wins kind of keeps the sanity going in the positive direction, like as you avenue towards reaching that goal. And then eventually, not only did we, because my wife and I, we close on our house next week. So, and it took about a year and a half of trying to rebuild my credit to get to where I'm at now. And I'm almost at a 700 right now. So, and I'm okay sharing that because it's taken 2 years to build from a less than 500 to where I'm at now. I'm pretty happy about it.
Yeah, well, A, congrats on the house. That's really exciting. But B, what's fascinating to me is of all the people I've sat down with, right now, they've all been involved in health and fitness or well being or some type of coaching.
Mhm.
And every single one of them, whether I'm talking about them or talking about their clients and big goals, they've all said the same thing of, if you have a big goal, don't think about the big goal. Think about what's that small incremental step I can take that gets me the win, builds me momentum, builds self-confidence, gets me a little more experience, and then gets the ball rolling. And so it's something I really want people to take away is, yeah, set big goals, set ambitious goals, but don't get drowned by the 20-foot wave of that goal. Take it in small increments, break it up, and attack it one small chunk at a time. There's no losing strategy with that. You build that self-confidence when you get those small wins. You get your feet wet in the realm of whatever you're trying to accomplish. So I'm really glad you brought that up because it's a commonality at this point.
Yep.
Now, when did you realize, because you've always been involved in athletics, but when did you realize you wanted to tie athletics to helping others and take the avenue of coaching?
So the funny thing about that, I could actually probably thank Trevor and Sarah. They're the owners of Legendary Fitness, the most to help push me into taking that first step to combine those two passions of mine together. Because when I started coming to Legendary, it was the week after they opened up. They just opened the doors to everybody. And I loved the place, got a membership right away. I was in 3 days a week just training and having fun doing my own thing. Then I would see people kind of struggling a couple months down the road from where I was when I first started. So I would just offer advice here, offer advice there, challenge these people. And then they both kind of came up to me about 3 months after I had been coming like 3 or 4 days a week and were like, hey, you're good at talking with people and you kind of know what you're doing. Do you want to work here? And then that kind of got my foot in the door of I like being active. I like doing new things, especially things that are unique that not everybody knows how to do. And talking to people is one thing, but saying things in a way that makes sense to that individual has always been like a key skill of mine. So if there was a way that you see that for me, I see somebody struggling, somebody could tell them 100 words on do this, do this, do this, do this, and none of it could make sense to them. But if you find that common ground of, hey, you want to do the warped wall. What other sports have you played? Oh, you were in gymnastics. The run for the warped wall is like the vault for gymnastics. So finding those comparisons to seeing somebody get from point A to point B easier or faster it's just fun.
Yeah, and I want to highlight something that you said, and it's not necessarily what you're saying to people. It's having the ability to go from their perspective and think, how are they interpreting, wow, what I'm saying. And I think that gets lost in a lot of people where they're so focused on getting what they want to say out that they're not taking the time to think about how it's being received. And
Mhm.
so that's an important skill to have as you progress through life, is getting really good at understanding how you're being perceived by other people, especially when it's subjective. Everyone's a little different, so you need to, maybe alter the message based on who you're talking to. And that's
Yep.
not even just for coaching, that's for being a human being
Yep.
who enjoys talking to other human beings.
And the biggest thing for me that kind of transferred over from coaching to another job I had that was kind of more of a corporate setting is word vomit versus being clear and concise. Some people like the tell me everything all at once, I'll filter it myself. Other people are like, just tell me what I need to know and that's it.
Yeah, so what is kind of similar to what we're talking about, but I'm just interested to hear what you have to say about this. What's one thing you've learned about people, like people in general, from being a coach?
From being a coach,
Yep.
they know what they want, they don't know how to get there.
Whew, that's powerful. And it
Yeah.
it sounds so simple, but I've talked about it before on the podcast of, if you have something you really want to do and get good at, go find a mentor, find a coach, find someone who has success in that area or who has proven that they can have success helping other people in the area. Yeah, you have to swallow your pride a little bit, but that's what that person does.
Yep.
And to have someone who already has the track record is going to reduce your time drastically from you just trying to muscle through, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm working with a client right now that's trying to conquer the devil's steps, which is basically kind of like stairs that you climb while you're just only hanging on your hands and you do an explosive pull up to reach the next step. She has the strength to do pull ups all day, every day, but the height factor, as soon as she gets to that third step, she drops. And it's the only thing that she needs to get over is a head game. But somebody telling her, okay, swing, drive your knees, pull, then she's only thinking of those things. She's not thinking about the full I'm 10 feet off the ground aspect of the obstacle.
So that's one thing we both know. When it comes to Ninja Warrior, there are a lot of things that, physically speaking, are not nearly as hard as people think they are, but it is such a mind game.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a particular strategy that you work with clients on to overcome that mind game? Is it still that same small incremental steps approach?
So that's one way I like to look at it. For anything that's obstacle specific, like a bigger, more explosive type of move, or something that's just new to somebody else, I give them what I call the pole vultures mentality. Of you look at the obstacle and you think about everything you need to do. As soon as you're about to do it, let your mind go blank. Your body's going to process exactly what you were just thinking about, but you don't need to think, for example, while you're swinging, legs in front of me, legs behind me, knee drive. There's no need for that. Your body's going to do what it needs to do. But if you let your mind go blank, naturally you're going to succeed. Whether you make a mistake or not, you're going to be confident with it because you're not hesitating or just being timid about what you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah, and especially when it comes to, I think, Ninja Warrior and OCR, where again, every obstacle is a little different. You need a little different approach. It's really important to visualize how you're going to get through that obstacle. Because I think, like you're talking about, as soon as you get started, if you hesitate or slow down on some of those obstacles, you're done. You're not making it through that obstacle. If you slow down, stop,
Right.
burn yourself out by hanging there trying to figure out what to do next. And I think that's something that's directly applicable to life too, where it's like, cool, if you have any task to complete, yes, have a plan. Obviously, you need to know what you're doing before you do it. But once you have that plan, go all in, like get started, get after it, and just keep moving, keep doing something. Um, I don't know if you know Tom Bilyeu, maybe I've mentioned him to you, but he's the owner of Quest Nutrition Bars, but he's also in the self-development realm. And he says, I'd rather be running 1,000 miles per hour in the wrong direction than standing still, because at least when I'm running 1,000 miles per hour in the wrong direction, I'm learning something and doing something. And you can take that experience and knowledge and pivot into the right direction.
Yep.
Hopefully.
That also kind of leads into something else I like to at least adapt with with coaching is I would rather you look confident, whether you're confident or not, and make a mistake than give it a half an effort and fail.
Yeah, I love that. All right, so unpack that a little bit. What would you say to someone who, they're obviously nervous, visibly nervous? How do you talk to them and get that message through of like, hey, even if you're not actually confident, exude confidence, even if you are faking it. Like, how do you get that message to connect?
The first thing is always try and just get the failure over with. Just that first step of because a lot of people think it's all or nothing, and there's usually 100 steps in between whatever their goals are, even if it's just monkey bars that are 2 feet apart from each other. Just taking that swing and letting go of one hand is a step. Touching the next bar is another step. Actually grabbing the other bar would be the accomplished goal. But I mean, it's a lot of people think when it comes to stuff like that, it's all or nothing. But when it comes to I'm scared, I don't know what's gonna happen. I don't know if I'm gonna get hurt, if it's gonna work, not work. The biggest thing is if you don't, if you let fear consume you, it's not gonna work. If you just get scared for a little bit and trust one other person to tell you that you've got this, it's okay, you're strong enough, you've got the ability, your technique's there, you just got to put it together, or at least try to put it together. Having that kind of angel on the shoulder, if you kind of want to call it, that's what I like to kind of think for like coaches. It's we can see what other people can do. They don't believe it. So it's that constant reminder of you got this, you can do it. And a lot of people just think it's words, but when it's something new, it does mean something like to the heart.
Yeah. So tying into what you were talking about of the confidence aspect, I think another point to add to that is just reducing the amplitude of the fear in your mind. So really thinking through like, okay, let's say you do fail.
Mhm.
What's going to happen? You're going to fall. Maybe two people are going to see you, including your coach, who's seen everybody in the gym fall. So really logically thinking about, why am I afraid? Do I think it's going to be embarrassing? Do I think I'm going to get injured? Do I think I'm going to feel let down? And running through those things like, okay, let's say it is embarrassing. I myself have fallen more times in the ninja gym ungracefully than most people. Let's say you think you're going to get hurt. Great. Practice how to fall properly so you know you have that confidence around falling or slipping or doing those things. Are you going to get let down? Great. Use that as a driving force to get better and learn from your mistakes. So I think just putting fear in a logical place goes bounds and strides to help with gaining that confidence. Because really, I don't think people are not confident always in their ability to do something. It's that the fear kind of trickles its way in into like, well, what if I do fail?
and a kind of devil's advocate kind of approach to it too, depending on the individual, because this doesn't work for everybody, is okay, you don't think that you can do this. If somebody were to come in here and tell themselves, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that, why would they need a coach?
Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, you still need a coach because even if you're sure you can do those things, you still have someone who has experience who can maybe share a different perspective on the same matter.
Mm-hmm. And that it works only to a point, in my opinion, of kind of like using that approach. Because, say, for example, somebody doesn't want to do the monkey bars because they're afraid of the falling. Teach them how to fall properly, go through all those fundamentals, like you mentioned before. And then when you get them up there, you give them that boost of confidence of, okay, I want you to verbally say, I got this. Whether you do it or not, giving that verbal cue of telling yourself out loud, I got this, is the first step of faking that confidence, for example, whether you got it or not.
So I want to transition a little bit because this keeps popping into my head. Is your phrase "look good, feel good"? Now I know I don't remember. I don't know if you know where you heard that from because I know you were telling me you heard that, and now it is just such an integral part of your day and your life. If you could just talk about that mentality, what that means to you, and how it's affected your life.
I actually learned it from my wife a year after we started dating.
All right.
She is the I'm going to be in sweats all day, every day person, but once a week, once every other week, however often it is, she dresses up, whether it's at home or for a date or just going to the grocery store, just for that look in the mirror and be like, whew, I look good today. And it gives you that positive, like, I'm on top of the world. You stand a little bit more upright. You just have that different load of confidence on your shoulders. Um, and then just giving yourself that periodically throughout like your schedule, whether it's during the week, on the weekends, random times. So for example, for me, something as simple as trimming my beard could be a look good, feel good. Putting on something that's not athletic clothes, like jeans and a sweater for me is look good, feel good because I'm always in athletic shorts and in a t-shirt.
Yeah,
But
I get that a lot too, especially as, a trainer and a coach. Like, we're always in athletic shirt, sweatpants or athletic shorts,
mhm,
running shoes. Uh, and so my friends and my family, if I'm wearing like jeans and a nice shirt, they're like, "Whoa, that's crazy." It's like, yeah, I
right.
don't always wear pajamas, it's all right. But
But the whole like it gives you that I'm on top of the world feeling, whether it's for a couple minutes in the mirror and that's it, or you go out in public and you notice somebody turn a head and like give you a smile or something. Just like those little cues help make everything that's negative in your life kind of diminish a little bit.
so I want to take that phrase a little further, and I think you'd agree with me in look good feel good isn't always about just like what you're wearing or making sure you're clean shaven or showered. And I think it comes down to like, do you feel good about how your body looks? Do you feel good about how you're eating? Do you feel good about how you present yourself to other people? So I
Mhm.
think there's a lot of those other aspects where, yeah, you feel you look good because of your ability to communicate. A really good communicator is going to look better than someone who stumbles across all their words and has no ability to connect.
Yep.
So do you apply those other things to that concept as well?
Yeah. So for me, look good, feel good starts with, like I'm going to clean up, dress nice, whatever. But the main important aspect of it is how do I carry myself? That's the whole like feel good. Like it's not it's I feel comfortable where I am walking around, how I present myself. That's the whole purpose of the look good, feel good. So it's whether I did everything on my to-do list that I start at the beginning of the day, I check this off, check this off, check this off. Like that's my feel good. And I could still be in athletic clothes, but it's the goal is to feel good.
Yeah, so the term how you carry yourself, I want to dive into how you carry yourself in a different way. For people who don't know Tony, he is one of the hardest working people in and out of the gym I think I've ever met in my life. So, what's your approach to that? Like, do you have a certain flip you switch when you go into work or go into the gym, or is it just a way of life for you? Like, what's your driving force behind your work ethic?
It was just a work ethic, and then it kind of turned into a way of life, mainly because I never really settle where I'm at, no matter what it is. It kind of started off as a work setting because I went from at one job, I was just the low factory worker, and I was like, this isn't good enough. I'm getting treated like crap. So then I became a lead. And then from there, it was, oh, I want to move to this part of the warehouse. And then I want to learn how to drive a forklift. And I want to learn how to become a manager. And then that kind of segued into a different job where I was assistant on-site manager for a temp agency in charge of 3 shifts and 200 plus people. I mean, I'm always trying to find that next thing, and that kind of applied into athletics once I found a more comfortable setting to have a controlled training program in a way, and not just go out and word vomit a training program, if that makes sense.
Yeah. If people get nothing else out of this entire conversation, I want them to get 2 words that you just said. Never settle.
Yeah.
Ever, 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 ever. I think that is such a good way to live life. Now, that's not to say you can't enjoy where you're at and make the most of every given moment. I think that's another really crucial part to that equation. But never settle. If you know that you have the ability to do more, be more, achieve more, go for it. Like, don't settle for where you're at just because, all right, now I'm comfortable. I feel okay. It's like, I don't know about you, but I'd rather feel great than okay, personally. And so I love that phrase. It's so simple, but so effective. Never settle.
And
Now,
then
how do
from
you apply that to like other areas of your life?
so the big thing for me was budget, because part of look good, feel good, I got a little carried away when I first adapted to it. And so I kind of spent a little bit too much money. But then that segued into, okay, now I got to be responsible with what I buy, managing my money and time and just things like that. So applying that, say, for example, to I want to be able to buy a house, the point that I'm at now, it was coming up with a savings plan, get really good at learning how to do spreadsheets and then tying stuff together like that. Um, it was never just I want enough money for a down payment. It was I want enough for a down payment on a house and to be comfortable afterwards. Leading into I want enough money to be able to buy a house. Closing costs are a lot more expensive than I thought they were anyway. So I'm glad I ended up doing that because money goes towards closing costs. But my wife and I, we want to have, or at least try to have kids in the next year or two. Kids are expensive. So we tied that into the whole buying a house experience. So if I would have just originally settled for I want to buy a house, we might not even have any leftover money for closing costs or wanting to have kids in the next year or so.
Yeah, and that was something I had to overcome about money in general. And I think a lot of money is your mindset around it and any limiting beliefs you have about it. And so one of my limiting beliefs was like, well, if I'm doing what I love to do, I don't need money, like I'll make just enough to survive. And the more I would listen to various successful people, they would say, money in and of itself is not a bad or evil thing. It's an amplifier. So, yeah, if you're a dick and you have a lot of money, you're going to be a bigger dick. But if you are a giving, caring, kind person and you have more money to pour into that, you're just going to become more of what you are. And so I think getting that mindset helped me a lot because it made me realize you're not evil for wanting to make a good amount of money. As long as you understand that it's not about the money, it's about how it impacts your life and the lives of the people you choose to invest that money into.
And going off of investment, the biggest thing that helped me the most with saving money was looking at everything I currently have and how do I make it last as long as possible.
Yeah, so talk about that more. I like that.
So the biggest thing was cars for me. I was like back when I was the little adrenaline junkie side of me, I wanted to learn how to flip cars, flip motorcycles, things like that. So I learned as much as I could. Once I got out of that whole realm of people I was hanging out with, that knowledge turned into, okay, I'm going to buy a car for $3,000. And instead of selling it off to somebody else to make some money, I want to see if I can make this last 3-4 years by just taking care of it myself. So I have no car payments. My insurance is cheaper because I don't have the car payments. And then on top of that, not only am I learning more about cars, but I feel that pride of this $3,000 car has lasted 3-4 years, and I'm totally cool with that.
Yeah. Yeah, that I don't have anything to add. That was very well said.
So the best investment when it came to cars for me, though, I got a car for free because somebody was getting rid of it, and I got it to last 2.5 years.
Whoa. Why were they
So
getting rid of it? Because they didn't think it would work anymore?
because the check engine light was on, a couple animals had lived in the car, so there was dog hair everywhere. I found a dead bird in the passenger seat, like crevice, which was just nasty. But
Whoa.
fixed the check engine light, took the seats out, cleaned it up, put it back together, and it lasted 2.5 years.
Well, I think what's cool about that is, yes, you're saving the money, you're doing those things, but that's also like through an avenue of something you love to do.
Yep.
So I don't know if I've talked to you about this concept of getting creatively disciplined. So yes, you need the discipline to do the things you have to do in order to have success in any area of life, but get creative in finding an outlet that you enjoy that allows you to have the discipline and do those things.
Mhm.
So again, I always tie it into fitness just because obviously fitness. So many people, they think, yes, I need the self-discipline to go to the gym and get a workout in and do all this. And let's say, for example, someone enjoys dancing. It's like, great. If you turn on your best dancing music and just go nuts for 20 minutes, that's good cardio. You're getting some
Yes.
good cardio in for the day, and it's really fun. And
Mhm.
so I think that's a good takeaway in that instance of you were able to do that because you enjoy putting the work into the car. You enjoy the sensation of, I just made that work and made that happen. And also you had the discipline to make it work and make it happen so you could utilize that resource for years.
Yep.
I get very passionate about that concept. Very passionate. All
If
right.
you wanna tie into that too with the music portion, this is because I was a band nerd and a band geek growing up in middle school and high school. I played the trumpet for about 10 years. Um, so being able to play the trumpet or any wind instrument tied into choir because you're using your vocals, your air, like all of that. Found out that if you spend 20 to 30 minutes singing, whether it's in the shower, in the car, good singing or bad singing, you're still improving your cardiovascular health.
Really?
Yep. So forcing your lungs to work versus letting them naturally work, your lungs are still muscles. So you're still improving your cardio with it.
That is why my cardio is good. I sing a lot in the shower and car. A lot
Yep.
louder in the car, especially if there's other people home.
Oh yeah, for sure.
All right. So we finish up every one of these podcasts with a final two questions. But before I get into that, where can people connect with you? I mean, whether it's questions about OCR, Ninja Warrior, this guy is a running genius. So if you have questions about running mechanics, technique, how to develop speed, how to develop endurance, he's your guy. But where can people connect with you to ask questions or just keep up with what you're doing?
The big thing would be Instagram. So my handle is at impulse.sweet_t. Um, Part of that is still tying into back in the heydays, but it's a good reminder too that I was a little bit impulsive back in the day, and I've kind of overcome that. And Sweetie has just been a nickname for my best friend since I can remember, basically. Um,
And we'll be putting that in the show notes for anyone who doesn't know the exact spelling and all that.
yeah, no worries. Yeah, running. Actually, funny that you mentioned the running thing. I'm almost done with a running coach certification I'm taking, and I'm going to be starting my own business out of it, hopefully in the next couple of weeks.
I will have plenty of people to send your way, possibly myself included.
Yeah, besides that, anybody that wants to stop in at Legendary Fitness Wisconsin in Menominee Falls, I'm here almost as much as I am at home. So
Yeah, and it's talk about getting creatively disciplined. the people, because I work at Legendary part-time, I train at Legendary. I've never, including high school sports, seen people have more fun getting exercise than at Legendary Fitness. They have obstacles, they have fitness equipment, and they just have a really good energy about them. And so, yeah, if you're ever in southeastern Wisconsin, look up Legendary Fitness in Menominee Falls. It is a blast. It is basically an adult playground. So awesome. All right. This is my favorite part. Everybody who's seen this before knows that. The first question: what right now is the biggest obstacle between you and your best self?
Recovery.
Ooh, okay. Explain that.
Well, I've always had a horrible sleep pattern for one, but I usually take pride in having a good routine of giving myself that mental break when I need it. And lately I have not. So I need to find that reset again.
Well, and that's really important because, and this is going to be the mindfulness coach coming out, but the most high performers in life actually take the most breaks. And what that does is it allows your brain, instead of just being on its heels and on the reactive and on the defense all day,
Mhm.
it allows it to catch up, analyze what's happened, and then set an intent for what's about to happen. So you can flip the script and go completely proactive. But also, like you said, just from the most people, you wake up to your phone alarm, boom, you have your phone right here. Your brain is being constantly stimulated all day long. And so I'm glad you mentioned this because it is so important. On average, you should be taking some type of break every like 50 to 60 minutes throughout your day. So if you work an office job and you're sitting at a desk for 10 hours a day and you get up maybe once or twice to use the bathroom and once to eat lunch, there's a lot of time where your brain's just getting knocked back. And in addition to that, if you're sitting stagnant for a long time, it decreases the blood flow to your brain. So you want to get up, move around, reactivate and revamp that blood flow. So that way you're just more clear, you're more energized, you're more ready to go.
Yep.
So I'm really glad you brought that up. That is a big point that I like to make. All right. This is probably my favorite question because this is where I get to learn something and implement it. What is one challenge you have for anyone who listens where when they do this thing, they'll see a noticeable improvement in their life?
Ooh, that's a tough one. Or if you do something, you'll have a noticeable improvement.
It can be anything. It can be, a daily habit. It can be just a quick try it once. But one challenge for the people who listen to this.
I don't know if it'll be a noticeable improvement for the rest of their life, but the one thing that at least gave me a perspective of being different and not getting stuck in a routine, um, there's a concept about paradigms. So, for example, if I'm right-handed, my phone is, if it goes in my pocket, it's always in my right pocket. Flip the script. So, for example, always put your phone in your left pocket. If you tie your shoes, always tie the opposite shoe first. If you grab your shampoo in the shower with your right hand, grab it with your left instead. Do that for a full day, or even challenge yourself for 3 days. It gives you a
Ooh,
perspective of how much you're dependent on one thing over another, whether it's just your left or right side.
yeah. I think the two things that'll trip people up the most when it comes to that are brushing their teeth, because
Yes.
I do that. I intentionally every other day I switch which hand I use just so that way like I can get that skill, I guess. Totally useless skill outside of the bathroom, but and then writing. I think
Yes.
writing with your opposite hand is going to get a lot of people to see just how dependent you are on
Mhm.
one side of your body. I love that challenge. I'll do it. I'll do it for 3 days. Starting today, I'll do it for 3 days, and I'll let you know how it goes.
For sure.
All right. That is all I have. So, Tony, I want to thank you for coming on. But more than that, I want to thank you for setting the example you do at Legendary Fitness, This guy is an inspiration for so many people on our OCR team, on our ninja team. You're an inspiration for the kids who are coming up through the youth program. Just the ability to connect with people, share your ideas, and inspire them is something that goes a long way for a lot of people. And just your work ethic, man, is ridiculous.
Thank you, man. I appreciate
Ridiculous. And so
it.
a lot of people take that away. And so I want you to know, like, people appreciate that about you. People may not always come up and say it, but it is widely noticed and widely respected. So I appreciate everything you're doing, everything you will be doing in the future. And I appreciate you taking the time to share some insight.
Hey, thanks for having me. This is my first podcast. I'm loving it.
Yeah, you bet. I'll likely have you on again.
Sounds good.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Yeah, you too. See you guys.